Imagine buying someone their dream home, walking through the empty halls with them, picturing birthdays, grandkids, holidays, and then being told, with a text message, that you don't belong in their version of family. That's what my son did to me. My name is Linda Hartwell. I'm 63 years old, a retired oncology nurse from Fayetteville, North Carolina. I raised 2 boys on my own after my husband passed away when I was 41. I patched up knees, worked double shifts, and learned to live on black coffee and sheer will. And now, I sit alone at my kitchen table, staring at a message that ripped the air from my lungs. Before I tell you what I did, and believe me, I did something, I need you to understand how we got here. But first, if you've ever felt discarded by your own family, if you've ever been made to feel like a burden in a life you helped build, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment below, because this isn't just a story, it's a reckoning. I have 2 sons, Ben and Aaron. Ben is my youngest, 32, lives in Raleigh with his wife Jenna. They've got one of those picture-perfect Instagram lives, brunches, filtered sunsets, a golden retriever named Moose. Ben used to call me Mama Bear. That was our thing. Even through college, even when he got married, I was his Mama Bear. And I bent over backward for that boy. Last year, Ben and Jenna were trying to buy their first home. The market was brutal, interest rates climbing, and Jenna kept sending me Zillow listings with emojis like, ugh, and crying. They were going to settle for some fixer-upper with water stains and a rotting porch. So, I stepped in. I dipped into my savings, sold off my late mother's diamond ring, and pulled money from an investment account I'd been nursing for retirement. Over $170,000 all told. I didn't blink. I wanted them to start their life with dignity and comfort. We closed on the house in December. It was a stunner. White brick, wraparound porch, backyard big enough for kids. I remember the day they moved in. Jenna cried. Ben hugged me so hard my glasses nearly popped off. "You're the reason this is possible, Mama Bear. We'll never forget this." Fast forward to July. Ben and Jenna had been planning a big family cruise to the Bahamas. 7 days, all-inclusive, something they'd been talking about since spring. I assumed I was going, obviously. They mentioned it in passing, said, "We'll book your room soon." Then, one morning, while I was folding laundry and watching Wheel of Fortune, my phone buzzed. Ben. "Hey, Mom, just wanted to let you know Jenna and I talked and we decided to keep the cruise just for family. Hope you understand. Love you." I stared at the screen for a long time, reread it. Then again. Just for family? I texted back something like, "Oh, okay, didn't realize I wasn't family?" No response. An hour later, a follow-up. "You are, of course, but Jenna just wants this to be special for us and her siblings. We figured you'd understand. You're more comfortable at home anyway." Comfortable at home? That night, I sat in bed in my nightgown, staring at the ceiling fan spinning slow above me. I could hear the neighborhood kids lighting early fireworks. My chest was tight, but not angry. Not yet. Just empty. I thought about every overtime shift I'd worked while other moms were at PTA meetings, the nights I'd fallen asleep in my scrubs, the years I went without vacations so my boys could have school trips, decent clothes, birthday parties. I was never the kind of mom who guilt-tripped. I believed in raising men who stood on their own. But I didn't expect to be cut out. And the more I thought about it, that text, the coldness of it, felt like a verdict. Then I remembered something. When we finalized the home purchase, I'd done it in my name. The mortgage, the insurance, even the deed, all under me. The plan was to transfer everything once they refinanced in a year or 2. They hadn't yet. At first, I told myself, don't be petty, they're young. Maybe Jenna's just overwhelmed. But then I got a phone call. It was from the property manager who handled my rental properties. She said someone from the county had come by to confirm ownership status on the house in Raleigh. Apparently, Ben had tried to claim a homeowner's exemption for taxes. In my name, without my consent. It wasn't just that I wasn't invited on the cruise. They were trying to claim what I gave them and erase me in the process. I stood in my kitchen with the phone still in my hand, staring at the window at my tomato plants, and something inside me just shifted. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I opened my laptop. I logged into the payment portal for their mortgage and canceled the autopay schedule. I called the insurance company and removed myself from the policy. And then I made one final call. I called a realtor. I haven't told anyone yet. Not Ben, not Jenna. They don't know the payments have stopped. They don't know the house they're bragging about on social media is now quietly, legally up for sale. And as I sit here sipping sweet tea on my porch, the Carolina breeze soft against my face, I don't feel rage. I don't even feel sad. I feel something it took me 63 years to earn. Clarity. Because family, real family, doesn't treat you like a guest star in a life you built. So when the cruise ship sets sail without me next week, they'll have no idea that back on dry land, everything is about to change. Ben didn't notice at first. Maybe it was the excitement of the cruise. Maybe he just assumed the world would keep bending in his favor like it always had. But about 10 days after I canceled everything, the mortgage payments, the insurance, I got a text. Ben, hey, do you know if the bank is having issues? I think our house payment bounced. Weird, right? Weird. I stared at the message like it was a stray cat scratching at the door, clueless, entitled, wanting something. I didn't reply. A day later, he called. I let it go to voicemail. His tone was light, but there was a thread of tension in it. Hey, Mom, not sure what's going on, but Jenna's freaking out a little. Looks like the house insurance got canceled too. Can you call me back when you get a chance? When I get a chance. Like I was an administrative assistant at the DMV. It's wild how quickly people notice your silence after they've stopped hearing your voice as something worth listening to. But I didn't stay silent for long. I waited until they boarded that cruise. I knew the exact date because Jenna had posted 3 boomerangs of her boarding the ship in a wide-brim hat and white linen pants. Caption, "Finally, family time." Family. I opened my email and sent Ben a simple message. Ben, since I no longer seem to qualify as family, and since my involvement in your life seems to cause such discomfort, I've made a few changes. The house remains legally in my name. All financial support has been discontinued. As of today, the property is listed for sale. I suggest you and Jenna begin looking for new accommodations upon your return. Mom. I hit send. My hands were steady. I watched the little paper plane icon float off, and I whispered to no one, "Bon voyage." When they got back a week later, I finally picked up Ben's call. "Mom, what the hell is going on?" His voice was tight, angry. No hi, no can we talk, just demand. "Don't raise your voice at me, Benjamin." He went quiet for a moment. I just don't understand," he said, trying to reel it back. "You gave us that house. You said it was ours. I gave you a roof, and you shut the door in my face." He scoffed. "Is this about the cruise? Mom, come on. Jenna just wanted something low-key with her siblings. You know you're always included. You texted me, Ben. You didn't even call. And you said you wanted to keep it just family." It wasn't meant like that. God, Mom, you're taking it too personally. Oh, am I? You mean like how you tried to file a homeowner's tax exemption using my name without telling me? He went dead silent. And then, Jenna thought we'd already handled that. I didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't ask, I snapped. You assumed. Just like you assumed I'd keep paying for the house, that I'd keep showing up, wallet in hand, while you erased me from everything. He tried to play damage control, switching to that rehearsed, silky tone he used whenever he wanted something. Mom, come on. We love you. You've done so much. Jenna's been stressed and we were trying to set boundaries. Maybe we didn't handle it right, but selling the house? That's extreme. No. Extreme is being treated like an afterthought in your life after I made sure you even had one. Then I hung up. 2 days later, Jenna called. I'll admit part of me was curious what she'd say. We've never been close, but I tried. I always did. I bought her birthday spa vouchers, showed up at her bridal shower with a check and a casserole, bit my tongue when she called me Linda instead of Mom. But this wasn't a woman looking to apologize. Hey, Linda, I just want to say this whole thing feels incredibly toxic. Toxic. You're uprooting our entire life over a misunderstanding. You know how hard we've worked for that house. I didn't say anything. Ben told me about the call, and while we get that your feelings are hurt, threatening to sell our home is, frankly, vindictive. You're better than that. Or at least I thought you were. I let her finish. Then I said, You know what's funny, Jenna? You've lived in my house for 6 months, but I don't think you've ever stepped foot in my home. Not once. I didn't think I needed an invitation. Exactly. You didn't think. At all. And I hung up. Over the next few weeks, things escalated. I started getting calls from Ben's friends. One even sent me a long, guilt-trippy message about how parents are supposed to be selfless. I wanted to reply, I was selfless for 32 damn years. This is me remembering I have a self. Jenna posted a long, vague status about toxic elders who weaponize generosity and setting boundaries even when it hurts. I stayed quiet, but inside, I was fuming. Not because they were mad, but because they still didn't get it. They thought this was about revenge. It wasn't. It was about recognition. I wasn't just some bank account with a casserole dish. I was a person. The person who sacrificed everything so Ben could wear new cleats, so Jenna could marry into a debt-free life. But all they saw was a woman past her usefulness. So I followed through. The house was listed. A couple from Asheville flew in the next week to tour it. They made a strong offer, full asking price. Ben found out through a friend of a friend. He showed up at my house unannounced, something he hadn't done in years. He didn't knock, just opened the screen door and stood there like he had a right to the space. Don't do this, he said, eyes wide. We'll figure something out. Just don't sell it. I looked at him, really looked at him, and realized something. He wasn't panicked because he'd lost me. He was panicked because he'd lost his safety net. Ben, I said quietly, I offered you a home. You gave me a label. He blinked. What? You labeled me as someone who didn't belong. You made that choice, and now I'm making mine. He clenched his jaw, eyes filling with something halfway between regret and rage. Jenna's pregnant, he blurted. The room spun a little. I hadn't expected that. 3 months, he added. We were going to tell you after the cruise. My throat tightened. A baby. My grandchild. But even then, he had used it like a weapon, not a gift, as if it were a card to play. And that's when I knew They'd keep using love like leverage until I had nothing left but regrets. Ben stood in my doorway, waiting for that bombshell, Jenna's pregnant, to shatter my decision like it was glass. I won't lie to you. For a second, I felt it. A flicker, a tremble, that instinct that's been trained into every mother I know. Protect the baby, protect the future. But I stayed still. I let that moment pass like a cold breeze through a cracked window. Because I realized something else. Something painful, but clarifying. That baby, my future grandchild, didn't change the past. It didn't erase the way I'd been discarded. It didn't rewrite the text that said I wasn't real family. And I knew, right then, if I let them guilt me back into their pocket, it would never stop. So I told them the truth. I'll love that child if I'm ever allowed to meet them. But I won't beg for a place in their life the way I begged for a place in yours. Ben didn't say anything. His eyes flicked toward the old photograph on my wall. Him at 7, arms around a papier-mâché science fair volcano. His smile was so wide back then. He used to run to the car when I picked him up. Now, he just stood there. Eventually, he left without another word. The house sale went through 3 weeks later. Clean closing, full asking price. Ben and Jenna had 30 days to vacate. And for a while, it got quiet. Too quiet. No calls, no emails, no texts. I thought maybe it was done. Maybe they'd accepted it. Until one Saturday morning, I drove past the house, their house, and saw a red SUV parked sideways in the driveway, boxes stacked on the lawn, one of the windows wide open with a bedsheet flapping out like a flag of surrender. And on the front porch, Jenna, sobbing. Now, I didn't stop, but I did slow down. And I'll tell you what I felt. Not satisfaction, not glee, just confirmation. Because they finally felt the thing I'd carried in silence for months, the ache of being made disposable. A week later, I got a letter in the mail. Not a text, not an email, a letter. It was handwritten. From Ben. It started with, "I don't know if you'll ever forgive me, and I don't blame you if you don't." He said they'd found a small condo temporarily, that they were keeping the pregnancy quiet because they didn't know who was still on their side. He said he never meant to push me out, that he thought I was strong enough to not need the attention. That line. Strong enough to not need the attention. Let me tell you something. We spend our lives telling women like me that strength is quiet, that it's sacrificial, that it's giving until there's nothing left but a smile and a casserole. And then, when we ask for respect, they call us bitter. I didn't reply to the letter, not right away. Instead, I took a drive. Up to the mountains, past Asheville, where the dogwoods were blooming and the air smelled like honeysuckle and pine. I stayed at a little inn, read a book for pleasure, something I hadn't done in years, and ate an entire peach cobbler without sharing a bite. And one night, on the porch of that inn, I finally let myself cry. Not because I was broken, but because I was letting go. Letting go of the version of motherhood where I'm always last. Letting go of the lie that unconditional love means unlimited tolerance. Letting go of earning a seat at a table I helped build. A month later, Ben called again. His voice was different this time. Softer. Humbled. "Mom, we'd like to see you. If you're willing." I agreed. We met at a diner halfway between our towns. Nothing fancy. Just eggs, toast, and a second chance. Jenna didn't say much at first. She looked tired. Pregnant in the face, you know? Puffy eyes, that soft tension in her jaw. Eventually, she said, "I misjudged you. I thought you'd always be there, no matter what we said or did." I thought that too, until I realized I was teaching you both how to treat me. Ben nodded slowly. He didn't argue. That alone told me he was finally listening. They asked if I wanted to be involved in the baby's life, and I said yes. But I set boundaries. No last-minute favors, no being summoned only when it's convenient, no more text message dismissals. They agreed. I don't know what the future holds. People don't change overnight. Trust doesn't regrow in one brunch. But I'm open. Cautiously open. These days, my life looks different. I joined a community garden, took a ceramics class. I even reconnected with a man named Harold from my high school days. Widowed, sweet, owns a boat he never uses. And last week, I held my granddaughter for the first time. They named her Ruby. She has Jenna's eyes and Ben's chin. When I held her, her little fingers wrapped around mine like she already knew who I was. And in that moment, I didn't feel like someone's backup plan. I felt like me, not Mama Bear, not the money source, not the invisible helper behind the curtain, just Linda, a woman who finally drew a line and discovered she was more than what others expected her to be. Sometimes the best revenge isn't rage. It's removal. It's the quiet power of choosing yourself, finally, without apology. And if they come back, let them come back to someone they can't walk over. Let them come back to someone they have to respect. If you've ever been pushed aside by the people you gave everything to, you're not alone. Sometimes the best revenge is becoming the person they never imagined you'd have the strength to be. If this story struck a nerve, hit that like button, subscribe for more true tales of justice and healing, and share your own experience in the comments, because your voice deserves to be heard. Thanks for watching.